Welcome to the Athletes in Motion podcast, from race to recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
So here you are, a fighter. All of a sudden, are you driving home and you see a bull and you think to yourself, "Well, I want to ride that."
Yeah.
Or how did how does a guy that's 125
What do I
pound
do
weight
next?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, let's see.
So I was driving in my old truck down, just going to my secret spot.
Yeah.
Had this girl with me. We're going to showing her the place. And the sun's kind of setting. It's a nice summer day. Windows open and. These cows are coming across the road. It's natural around the country, right?
Yeah.
And they all pass, and there's just this bowls in the middle, right? Middle of the road. I can't go down because both sides are like deep ditches, or ditches, right? So I can't go around. So I kind of pull up to him, honk, honk, honk. He's not moving, not budging, just whatever in his zone. Back up. What are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know, get out. So I'm like, still nothing. I'm like, I'm not gonna touch this thing, right? Maybe, I don't know. It's not moving. So okay, well, we're going to the spot on these back roads, he's feeling good, whatever. So I was like, okay, so I'm just kind of back up to this thing. I'm going to jump on it because it's not aggressive.
I feel like he's telling a bullshit story.
I was so working on my storytelling.
He's just like,
I jump on it.
Yeah,
I start riding it. She's like, oh my God.
You should do this.
Look, you're like a cowboy. And I was like, greatest compliment ever.
The first minute, I'm like, I think he's
sitting there
bullshitting
like, yeah.
Okay, so I need to work on that story.
Yeah.
No, so
You
I
were
was
smiling too much.
Was it the smile?
It was the smile.
It was a smile.
I thought I was doing so good. No, so I worked with a strength and conditioning coach when I was living in Denver, getting ready for a fight, and he worked with bull riders down at the Performance Center, I think you would call it, the PBR Performance Center down in Pueblo, Colorado. Oh. So I went down there, just met him through a friend of mine. It's like, hey, you should go check out. His name is Antoine. He runs this place. He's really good. Just his strength and conditioning would translate into fighting. Mm-hmm. So I was getting ready for a fight, drove down there, and I was like, hey, what are the chances of me getting on? He's like, no, you don't want to do that, especially when you're still fighting. After, for sure.
Come talk to me.
Yeah, exactly. But right now, no. So I had taken this fight in Bahrain, lost by decision. And I think 2 weeks later, he calls me and he's like, hey, you still want to get on a bull? And I was like, more than ever. I just lost, I just lost crazy. Yeah. And he's like, okay, we're going to put this camp on in a month. And it's going to be super professional. It's put on by PBR, put on by us. We're going to have bullfighters, medics, real bull riders who've been there, done that, PBR world champions. If you're going to go do it, this is the safest environment, because you can go, to some dude's ranch where everybody's drinking a few beers and they're like, yeah, load up that one.
Give it a try.
Exactly. And
two guys named Earl are like,
you get on Bushwhacker and you're slinging across the fence. But so I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely. So I signed up for this camp. It was a 3-day camp. I ended up getting on 6 bulls in the 2 days.
Wow.
Or 3 days. Yeah, I got on 2 the first day. 3 the first day, 2 the second day, and then the third one was a mini rodeo that they put on, or bull riding event. Okay. And what was your question?
First time
how did I got into it? Yeah, so that's kind of how that came to be. Was I had the opportunity, and I just had lost a fight, and I was like, it was always a little bucket list thing. We'd watch PBR growing up because we grew up on a farm. It's like, dude, these guys are a beast. They're crazy. It's just it's a little attractive.
Yeah. So on the one hand, Tom and I are doing that would be insane. But the fact that you're physically in incredible shape, right? Yeah. You spend your life doing nothing but balance, right? Because you're trying to counter whatever a move that they're doing. So at first, when I heard you were doing that, I'm like, that guy's nuts. Yeah. Then I'm like, well, actually, that's probably the most sane thing to do if someone's going to go do it, because you have that experience of being able to understand that when you first got on that bull, first off, did you shit yourself? And secondly, it's did it feel like, okay, does your innate nature of you, like I said, having to figure out how to balance, how to kind of counter, did that kind of come into play?
Yeah, all of that came into play. So as soon as I got there, I was just super nervous, right? Yeah. Then I have all these cowboys telling me like, do this, do that, do this. And I'm like, yeah. In one ear and out the other, right? I'm like, oh, yeah.
This is like your first MMA fight, right? You're all like, I don't know what I'm doing, but what the hell, let's go.
One ear out the other. And then what comes natural just comes natural.
Yeah.
You know, I get into the cage, my first fight. He's throwing punches, I'm taking you down because I know wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So getting on, I just kind of was like, this is just like a fight. I'm super nervous. I see guys warming up, so I'm going to get loose too. I know that's smart because I'm about to do something super athletic, right?
Yeah.
I have no gear. So this guy's like, hey, which was super cool. And that's what I love about like the bull riding and the Western sports and rodeoing is all those guys, as crazy as they are, the community, they really look out for you.
That's cool.
Which is nice.
And I think that's across the board, you know, because this is very dangerous. So it's not like you do have your yahoos out there that will say, oh, come get on, you know, and just because their bull needs exercise, they'll put you on, right? Put you on. But for, you know, across the board, they're very like, we're going to take care of you, you know? So this guy let me use his rope, and a rope is, to me, it's kind of like gloves. You don't just let anybody use your rope. This is like mine. I have it set up for, you know, and they're like, here's my rope. Here's my helmet. I went and bought boots. I didn't have boots, you know. Here's, you know, everything.
Yeah.
So I started getting ready, putting it on just like as if I was gloving up. So I just was like, okay, this is it. And then they're like, that's your bull. And so they load them in the chute, and then you have like 4 other bulls that they're going to run in there, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, that's your bull. So I'm kind of eyeballing them. Like, you know, like,
same thing.
You're mine.
Like
I'm like, oh, these okay, you won this one? Because you're super scary. I go over to him like, it's going to be good. Kind of horns me a little bit. I'm like, all right, somebody help me put this rope on. You know? So they help me do all that, and I kind of count. I'm like, all right, I'm up in like this much time. So I'm like warming up, drinking water, and then I just like, hey, you're up next after this one. You know, we're gonna go over there, and then we're gonna come back over here. So this bull goes, and then over there, and then you're up. So, and because I am who I am, and it was a camp, and they were really focused on climbing there. Somebody's gonna go over a procedure and help you and talk you through it, and I'm just like. It didn't really help, but it did make you feel better within that time. So this is how you're going to get on. This is how you approach it. And so I get up there. I'm ready. I got a glove. You know, they tape me up, and they're like, all right, jump in there just like we got done showing you. So I get in there, and, you know, you slide down on them, and you just feel like the warmth of this bull and his breathing. And it's just like it just overwhelming, consuming feeling that you've never had before, right? And I'm gonna ride this thing, right? Who's expecting me to do
and he's slightly annoyed at this point,
right? Exactly, yeah. So, you know, depending on the bull, they'll try to horn you while you're in the chute, or they'll lean on you. So these are steel gates, you know, and I got a little leg. This 1,000-pound bull is leaning on. It's like, you know, and there's just so much going on. So it's like, okay, let's try to make this fast because he's getting annoyed that he's in this and he knows what's about to happen. So they put me on. They're like, okay, just, you know, hold on. Chest out, kind of lean forward, keep that hand, that's your stabilizing hand. Try not to let it come too far back. Just everything's over because they're jumping forward. And so you want to match their forwardness, right? And I'm just thinking like, I'm trying to match nothing at this point. I'm just trying to hold on, you know? And there was so much that it's just like, I realize now they're just like, get on and ride, right? So, and that's what happened. They open up the chute. I nod my head, like, when you're ready, nod. You know, I nod, and we go out of there, and I felt like this was like the biggest bull there, which was the smallest. I felt like I had the biggest, baddest bull. He goes, and he just kind of hops across the pin, the circle pin, and he goes left, and I just keep going straight. So I fly off. I jump up onto the fence like I've seen many times before. And I'm looking around like, and he's just standing there like, I'm done. You know, I'm thinking he's like, coming back at me. So my heart's racing, and this was a PBR put on. So there's cameras, and because of my fighting, they're like, "What'd you think?" And I was like, I can do better. You know? That was amazing. I just and I was like,
after that
was one of those scenes where because of the situation, like MMA fighter doing this, it was a pretty big deal. I was trying to say a lot of the right things, but I was like, holy shit, like that was crazy. So it was like, but I knew right there, like that was nothing like that I can't do, you know. And I knew that I could do better. So I was like, I want to do it again. They're like, yeah, you got it.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. So what's funny, so after the first 3, then they're like, hey, we're going to come back tomorrow. Now that we've seen what you do. And you got guys saying like, dude, you're natural, right?
Yeah.
So after the weekend, everybody's like, dude, if you wanted to do this, like, I really think you could. Yeah. They tell everybody that, right? And I'm just like, really?
Smoke,
they're like,
big
oh,
time.
yeah, you're a fighter, you're balanced, you're balanced,
oh,
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I believed him, and I was like, well, at that time, like, fights were kind of falling through, and it was just like more work than it was fun anymore.
Yeah.
And then for bull riding, just doors started opening, right? So I was like, I think I might be onto something here, right? I love it. There's nothing, they do train hard, don't get me wrong, but like fighters, 3 times a day, hands down the hardest working athletes that I know. Are they always smart about their training? No. But are they the hardest workers?
Name an athlete that is.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Hands down the hardest workers.
Yeah. So, and I think to dissuade some myths about like these bulls, right? They're specifically bred for this, right? There's people that breed, riding bulls, right? And then they're not getting gored. They're not, being prodded in the nuts to try to do stuff. I mean, these guys kind of know what they're doing, right? And they have a personality. Because you mentioned before, like, some of them are just going to be like, get off me, I'm done. Others are going to be like looking for you. So describe sort of, those kind of.
This guy with a great question. Great questions. Yeah, each bull is like kind of like a person. They all have their personalities, like when you're in the chute, some will try to horn you like while you're in there and you're like, hey, like we haven't started yet. Yeah, chill. Yeah. Some will sit down in the chute, and which makes it super hard. You never want to open the gate when a bull is down, because you're just
launch you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a spring.
Right, yeah. So that's happened. That's why I know this.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was sitting down and they're kind of leaned up against the chute, and when they jumped up, my knee hit every single rail. Give me a minute.
And they know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's when I would say, hey, let's give this guy a shot. He deserves it. Being an asshole.
Yeah.
But then you have then you have some that come in, they're big bad, and they know like, I'm just gonna stand here, you get ready, and then I'm gonna give you hell, and it's like that's kind of what you want, because you're pulling that rope just as tight as you can get it, you know, so you're securing your hand down there, right?
Yeah. That's gotta be a weird feeling. I mean, because I see that. I mean, you guys are literally like it's needed to stay on the bull, right?
100%. Yeah.
But also like you got to get off that damn thing, right? So you got this. I mean, how?
But they tend to blow their stomachs out a little bit while you're putting that on there, and then it loosens. Right? Because I know horses that would do that. I worked with horses when I was a kid, and when we would try to put all the apparatus and stuff on them, we had a couple that would actually blow their bellies out a little bit, and you would be trying to get it as tight as possible, and then they would relax and it would be loose, and you'd be like, would you stop it? And
that's
then
when you got your buddy right there just squatting
and pull it up.
That rope.
So, but your hand is still stuck in there. I mean, how stuck is your hand, I guess?
So there's 2 types of rope. There's an American rope that really ties down your hand. It'll really it'll
cut the blood off.
Yes. Like suck down on your hand, and then you have a Brazilian rope that's a little bit looser. So
it's like Brazil.
I would have to kind of I would have to kind of show you. I should have brought mine. But it's so as no matter how tight the guy is pulling it, they're still gonna. If you let go, you'll be able to get your hand.
Oh, okay.
So those guys, they'll use a lot of rosin, which will help it get real sticky. The guys who, and I'm no professional by any means, so if I sound like I know what I'm talking about,
10 times more
than
we do. So
I'm still learning a lot. So, but the American guys, the way that it sucks down on your hand, I mean, it's as tight as you can get it, and if that bull moves an inch, your hand moves an inch. Some guys like that, so they know.
I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, after the 8 seconds are over, you're getting bucked off. I don't want my dislocated shoulder on.
You're still hanging off the bull.
So you grab that lead rope, the end of it, and then you kind of pull it to.
Which one do you prefer?
Loosen. Man, I think at the end of the day, within time, I think an American rope is probably better because, like I said, it really tightens your hand down, and even if you let go, it's still pretty tight. Yeah. So you get hung up more.
But it feels like to me, like just knowing you and talking about what you're doing, you process quickly. Like,
right.
I mean, on the American one, like for me, I'd be like, "What shit? What do I got to do? I have to do that." It feels to me like you You're able to adapt quickly. Was that a fair thing to say?
Yeah. I think 100%. I think I'm good at adapting to things. But so the Brazilian, you can let go, and the bull will kind of take you off to wherever outer space you're going to, right? So it's like I think the Brazilian is really good. It's just looser. You have more room to kind of. The Brazilians tend to really open themselves up and let their hand go and get kind of crazy on the bull. Whereas American, they really push forward to the front of the bull, and you can feel every inch of that bull, right? Where the other one has a little more play. So I'm using a Brazilian right now because I think it's a good beginner rope. Because if you get hung up and you get slung off, your hand comes out.
Okay.
And your natural instinct, when you're getting slung around, is to hold on. Nobody said, let go for dear life. Right? So everybody's like, you got to hold on, right? And so, because that's happened to me before. The first time I tried a Brazilian, I wasn't used to so much rosin, so it was super sticky. And when I put my hand in there, like you'd have to peel your fingers off to let go.
Like,
right?
hang on.
Yeah,
the bull's flinging you.
Right.
Trying to get out of it.
I was locked in, and I got slung off, and I was like this, looking over here into outer space, and the bull's taking me that way. And I realized after, that I was just holding on.
Yeah.
And so when I let go, or the guy, the bullfighter kind of helped me, it was like, whoa, that's, and my hand was kind of stuck too, because
I just got to go back to that opening one where you ran up to the fence, and I bet everybody's laughing their ass off, right?
It's
bull standing there, and they're looking at you like, what?
100 yards away. Distance.
So that goes back to character. The more that I'm around them, there are bulls who like to take their victory lap, right? Especially in the PBR, you got a crowd. They kind of like to, show off, look at me, right?
Yeah.
And then you have some that as soon as you get bucked off, the rider gets bucked off, then they go right back into the chute. They
know the drill.
They go into the bag. And then you have some that are like, hey, you got me, I'm fixing to get you. You better be on your toes. The bullfighters or the bull rider, so they'll look back and they'll try to get you. So which is all fun. So when you go back to the practice pens, and you don't get on a PBR level, high level bull every single time. Right. So when you're practicing, you don't always want to spar the best guy.
Exactly.
No, you want to work on technique.
Exactly.
You want the ability to work on technique.
You're amateur. You're new. I got to try this new move out, right? So you get on bulls that are as soon as they get done, they just kind of stand there. And it's like, hey, get to the back, or they'll go back there, or they just kind of give you a nice. They got good rhythm. So you practice rhythm, or when the first bull that I got on, I come to realize real fast that that's what they put all the beginners on, which is, of
it's
course.
Like the pony
seems
ride.
fair.
But when I started riding, I would ride it around the whole pin. I'm like, I'm feeling good. And they're like, dude, you're getting it, And then when I get on bigger, badder bulls, I'm like, that thing, I should have been doing that good, right? So you would never let me, if I wasn't doing that, you would never let me on something like this, right?
Yeah.
So, I've been on some pretty bad bulls, right? Or I shouldn't. Pretty ranked. That's what they say. You're a ranked bull. You're up there, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking bad to the bone type. Yeah. But I've got on some pretty ranked bulls. But I've also, when I started, it was just
of course, right? You're not gonna, like you said, you're not gonna. Someone's.
You're earning it. You're working your way up,
right? And then that's another thing.
So you get that
when
same
we would
adrenaline,
practice, after. We'd be in the pens feeding them, rubbing them down. Some of them are just that, job's done. We get to eat now. It's like, good job today. You're always on your toes by all means, but it's man, they're super dang, you don't walk into a pen and them try to, run after you. Now that would be like a bullfighter's bull, right? So they breed these ones to buck. Because some you'll tie up and they just stand there. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to take that to a PBR event. It's bloodline and all that good stuff. And then you have the fighting bulls. They're smaller, faster, more agile, and they will chase you down if you run in their pen. So that's their job. They know what they're doing. And it's so the different breeds, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're getting that same sort of adrenaline rush, that newness that you had? Like you said, you've done fighting for quite a while. You're getting a little burned out because it's not necessarily the fighting itself; it's the business of fighting that feels like you get burned out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. That's a great point.
Because I think it is right. You have to figure out the card. Somebody gets injured or something's going on. You're gonna, somebody's setting up money to do this fight, but then that falls through. It's like you just want to fight. I mean, that's
right.
It feels like on the bull riding, it seems from you like the feedback, the essence that you're getting is like you're excited. Like this is a whole world of not understanding what's going on. That is something that you have to conquer. Would that be a fair thing to say? Yeah,
absolutely. And I enjoy doing this stuff. The older that I get, kind of like we were talking about earlier, is where I don't get into that mindset of like, you're older, you need to settle down, you need to get a job, you need to have family, you need to do this. And it's like, well, that's your vision of living life, right? But mine is getting on this bull that could take me out or anybody that's within 10 feet of it. It's like, it just keeps that drive of life really alive that I've heard fizzles out. The older you get, the less testosterone. It's life, like a 90-year-old guy is not going to be itching to get on a bull, so I know that time is coming. I'm going to get that shot of adrenaline or that rush of life wherever I can, as long as I can, until I'm just not feeling it anymore. So it really does. And it's new. I like, I like new things. I don't like bad new things. Right.
Well, challenging new things. You want to learn. You have to use your mind. You have to use your body. You're physically, you're active. It's a lot of dopamine dumps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the adrenaline has got to be fantastic.
Yeah. Like I said, you can apply that same skill set you have, but now you're a neophyte when it comes to like the education of it. To your point, you have the physical ability to do it. I mean, you're in great shape. You know what you're doing. You fight often. I mean, you can physically get on that bull, but it's your education in understanding the mastery of that, and it seems like that's what you get like fed on. Like, oh, I can do that now. Now I know I can do that. Let's figure out how I do that better. How do I do it, more efficiently? Do you do a stare down on the bull too? Do you try to do the little? Do you do that?
It's over in paces.
Yeah. So my coach, Justin McBride, world champion bull rider. Got coach of the year this year. Nice. Yeah, we won as a team. The first ever, team series in PBR. He told me this little trick that he would do. So you have to adjust your rope. The rope is adjustable. So if you get a bigger bull, you got to loosen it up. And so because you want your rosin and where you hold the rope to match up every single time.
Yeah.
So a smaller bull, you're gonna make your ropes smaller, shorter.
Yeah.
And for a bigger rope or a bigger bull, you can adjust it, right? So what he would do as like a psychological mindset with him and the bull, which is kind of funny, I thought, was he would when he got done riding, he would, you clean all the rosin off your rope, so next time it's like it's not all built up, gunky and whatever. And so when he would put his rope back, he would make it pretty big, right? So then he would go and he would put it on his bull. They're like, this is your bull, you're up in 4 or 5, right? And he'd put it big, so when he put it on the bull, and you always, pull it as tight as you can to say. So you do it in the back, like 5 bulls up. Okay. So then once you get there, it's already set, and then you can just
adjust and go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he would make it bigger. So when he put it on the bull and tighten it up, he'd be like, "Oh, you're not as big as I thought." Right? So it's like
talking smack to the bull.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, it's also psychological. So then he's telling himself it's not that big.
It's not that big of a deal.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. So then he would make it smaller and get it just right, just like he liked it.
That is funny.
I like that.
So I kind of took that as like, that's cool, right? And so I use things like that, or like I like to kind of stand by him and be like, you're not that big, or like get up behind the chutes where I'm looking down at him. I'm like, small back, like your That's horns funny. Aren't that big, and like kind of talk to him like that, It's like. But then once I'm in there, I'm like, easy. Right. Let's do this real, You'll see you guys kind of out
of respect.
8 seconds.
Right.
8 seconds.
You'll see you guys kind of spur them a little bit and try to, like get them ready. But so I kind of do that a little bit.
So PBR is now the first year they've gone to a team event, right? So this
Correct.
is, and I think it seems from the feedback, it's really, really popular.
Yeah, I think so. I think with anything, you kind of have those old school guys who are a little stuck in their ways, and like, this is
from an audience perspective, though.
But from an audience and from America loves team sports.
Yeah.
And it's easier to get behind a team than it is an individual. Like if you think of all the individual stuff, it's not the most popular thing watched, right? So basketball, football, so on and so forth. Golf is not, you definitely have your fans, but it's not like
the irony is
biggest.
the Live golf course is actually going to team events, right? So they're, USA.
Or your Davis Cup, right? Davis Cup, and all the other stuff, same thing.
So
That's
they try to make
the big popular
sport a team event.
Yeah. NASCAR or race car driving in general. So, but yeah, I think the feedback has been really good so far.
Well, I guess
enjoy
my
it.
question to you is that, you since grade school, you've been doing an individual sport.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you're on a team.
Now, not just on it. So you're still doing an individual thing, right? You individually have to do well on that bowl. But now you're participating in points for not just you, but your team. How is that? Are you doing okay with that idea of a team?
How's it working out for you?
How's that working out for you? Do you have to adjust your mindset on that? Is that something that's because it's literally a new thing. You've been for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
So now you're suddenly
30 years.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
22.
Yeah, 22 years.
18.
Yeah. So actually, I had this exact conversation with my dad, and I just kind of looked at it as like, man, this is just helping me grow as a person, right? Because I've always just kind of looked out for myself or the people that I have around me. I'm very aware of what's going on, and I take care of people in my circle, right? Yeah. And I've never been on a team, never really liked being on a team because I'm like, dude, you
exactly.
But because wrestling was like that, it was an individual thing, but we would compete against another team as a team, right? Sure. You could win your match, but then we could still lose as a team. It's like, dude, if you would have won, we could have won this. So going into it this year, I just kind of got to see like how this all worked. It was new to everybody, right? And I rode in some of the lower level events, but I didn't ride with the actual team. So I was just kind of there to help, support. If they needed something, I'd be there because I'm just learning and taking it all in. But we had lost some ones where I'm like, dude, you had that. I would tell them like in a nice way, but I'm like, dude, you kind of gave up. Dude, you were riding. But at being a rider, you do understand it happens just like that, right? So it's like I get it. It takes 1 second for the bull just to roll its shoulders, and you're off. And as soon as they shoot out left, when you think they're going right,
you're done.
You're flying again, right? So. This year was fun just because our team did come together and get closer as the season went on.
Well, to your point, you really got a bunch of individuals now are the first time becoming a team, right?
Right.
You guys won, right? So
we did win.
And what's the team name?
Nashville Stampede.
Nashville Stampede.
Yeah, which is cool. Is like how I got picked up by
right here.
The team, from where I'm from.
You're
so,
home.
It's definitely a learning experience, but I chose to let it make me better as a person and start to encourage people. And what I've always done for teammates, like on the same fight team or training out of the same gym. But this is like, it's all right, dude. Next weekend. You know?
Well, and I think to your point, it's not just, hey, I'm playing basketball, I'm playing against another person. I mean, the level of intensity that you're dealing with too, like you're dealing with people's like literally lives, right? I mean, I don't want to make it dramatic, but that's a very snotty, pissed off bull that if bad things happen, you're going to the hospital. If I get I'm playing basketball and I get a hip check, that's one thing. I'm pissed off, but I mean, I think there's got to be more of a bonding moment on that one because you are dealing with such a high risk sport, right?
Right. So. And so for me, I'm like, I want to be the risk taker, right? So I don't know, like, okay, so this is probably weird, but like when we won, everybody's running around and jumping, and I was, of course, happy for all of our riders because I've seen them train consistently and get better and not make rides throughout the year, and I'm like, dude, you're a world champion, and we as a team should be doing better because we were almost in last like the whole year, And it's like if we can just all put it together, we would be unstoppable, right? And so we were progressively getting there. And then we were able to put it together when it meant the most. I'm like, wow, this is what real high level guys do. And we just showed that, right? These dudes are high level. They're very disciplined. They take this serious. And when it meant the most, they rose to the occasion, which gave me so much respect for the team and the coach and, everybody that was involved in it, right? And so that was amazing. But I was like, I didn't get to ride. So I'm like, I'm happy, it's cool, but like I wanted to participate, right? And feel like, and you got everybody like, dude, you were part of the team, you showed up, you practiced, you encourage guys, like, like be happy with it. But just who I am doesn't really allow me to really feel that success that these other guys really deserve. So that's the goal for this upcoming season. It's like, you're not feeling good? I'll take your spot.
I'll jump in there. Let me go.
So did they give you any shit at being an MMA guy? I mean, do they kind of like try to bust you a little bit on that because you're like, oh well, this guy, like.
Yeah,
I have to think that they're trying to.
I think it'll be once if
you have a higher proving ground.
When they do see me again, right? Because I was just there for a year or for that season, last season from July to November. So one of the coolest moments, probably of my entire life, was. These guys don't really know who I am. They're not understanding why I'm here. Why did I get picked to be on a professional bull riding team? I have no bull riding experience. And they're like, oh, he's a fighter. Okay, that doesn't really mean anything. Then they find out that I'm in the UFC, or I was in the UFC. Now the level of respect goes way up. They're looking on YouTube at my videos, and who I am and what I've done. And a lot of bull riders, UFC fans, right? And so they're like, okay, now I'm gaining the respect of my team because one, I'm showing up, getting on bulls that they're like, you should not be getting on this, right? But my coach is like, yep, you're getting on this. We got to see where you're at.
Jump on it,
Right. So I have now gained their respect of willingness and wanting to get on these bulls that in real life, I should not be getting on. You're just not at this level. It's like, I know you have fight skills, but it's like me putting you in the cage and saying, keep your hands up. You'll be good.
Just 8 seconds. You just got to hold on for 8 seconds.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I was doing, and they had respect for that. And then when they saw that I was in the UFC and I'm making this transition, then it goes up even more. So, and that took kind of half the season to figure out. And then so once my team was like, hey, we're rolling with this badass, we're all standing behind the chutes, and before the show starts, that everybody's in the back, and then they call out by teams, and everybody goes and they do the fireworks and fire and everything. And they're passing my phone around, showing all these guys, that my fights. And they're like, hey, this guy, this is him. And, it's my fastest knockout and or my head kick over Nicolau Mateus. And I think I was a huge I was the underdog the whole time. But in Canada. Sorry, I was having a blank there. There you go. And so, they're just all passing it and it was just like, now I'm accepted. Now these other guys from other teams are like, hey, if you want to come train with us, we got these bulls, we'll work out, we'll do a scene, we'll ride horseback, bareback. And that gives you kind of a feel of like a real animal and just like all these scenes and I was like, wow, now I feel like,
you've been welcomed in.
I've been welcomed in, right? Because I everybody's like, why don't you wear like a big belt buckle, and I'm like, you gotta earn that. I got one that my grandpa gave me. I'm gonna wear that, which I did all season. But it's like, no, I don't want something until I've really earned it. And I think there's a little respect there. It's kind of like. At first, guys are looking at me like, what is that?
And I think your work ethic too, right? Because of your work ethic, maybe. As you said, the work ethic may not be the same, where you can kind of bring that in to your point, because you're physically getting prepared to be able to do these things. It's not an accident, right? You spent decades, worrying about making sure you're in that shape to be able to do that. So,
absolutely. So I'm showing up, I'm putting the work in, shaking hands. Guys are respecting it. They see where I'm at. They see that I'm working. They see that I want it, and I just kind of stood back and just like, hey, I'm not.
You let it be organic rather than walk in and say,
like I'm a UFC
I'm kind of a big
deal.
Step aside. Step aside.
It's for, and that's one thing about like creating the character and stuff. I don't know if I said this exactly. It's just so much cooler when I meet somebody and just have like a genuine conversation, and then they find out like, oh my gosh,
here's what you've done.
Now I know you for you, and now you're finding out instead of like this gumption of like, oh, this guy, because I know like I've met guys where they're a star or they have a name or a lot of following, and so I automatically not put them on a pedestal, but I'm like, oh, that's so and so, but I don't know them, right? And so it's just so much cooler meeting somebody, and I'm like, oh, you do this and that, dude, that's awesome, like that's really cool. So that's cool. That all happened organically. Now this year, you know, if I can get to that level, which I really believe that I can, headed back to Texas tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So I think I can get there, and then, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, and all the hard work puts in and pays off. I'll be riding at the Bridgestone in August for the team. That's a goal of mine this year or next. God willing that I can walk by then, have my arms and shoulders attached. But just all hard work and respect where it's where it's given, you know, and earned.
I'm a huge fan of yours, just as a person, not just as a fighter, but just the way you approach stuff, the way, like, you're humble when you need to be, you know, cocky when you can be, that kind of thing, which is awesome. And I know I'm a big fan. I'm rooting for you. So
dude,
I appreciate it. Yeah,
it's been fantastic to get to know you. And I'm like, we'll be there in August for sure.
Absolutely.
I'll try to get tickets and go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotta follow this through and kind of watch all of it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm all in. And because I've had other opportunities outside of fighting and bull riding, right? Yeah. Which would, with being 34 years old, which would make sense of kind of like, okay, this is better, you make more money, blah blah blah, but like, I gotta see this through. I started this, and this wakes me up in the morning. You know, I've done plenty of jobs where I'm just like, gotta go do this. I've never like woke up and been like, I gotta go train to fight. You know, it's always been like,
let's get up.
You're gonna get beat up. Let's go do this. I'm gonna outwork this guy. So that's how bull riding is for me right now. And as long as that's there, I'm gonna continue to chase that down.
Cool, man. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on, taking time. I know you're busy. Like you said, you're heading down to Texas, get ready to go. So,
thank you so much. We appreciate your time and everything. Tons of respect. Tons of respect on everything. So appreciate it all. Everyone, give us your likes and thumbs up, 5 stars, all the good stuff that helps the algorithm grow. More people can see this. We'll be on our YouTube channel for those who can actually see us, hopefully if the cameras are working properly. We'd like to thank the coffee shop here at 2nd and Bridge in downtown Franklin, which we love their coffee. We're dealing with the sound, and it's getting a little better. But we love the environment. We love the place. So thank you all again. I appreciate you all. And until the next one, we'll catch you then.